This world was no different from ours. The same sky, people and cities. But in this world, every self-respecting person plays a computer game called Apocraft. Is a regular MMORPG that attracts people with its colorful drawing and interesting pumping system. Many people forgot what real life is and spent all day pumping up their characters. And this guy's name is Chow. Through hard work, he's become the strongest player in 5 years. He's the only one who could get his character to level 200. He spent so much time on this game because he was a total loser in life, and his family had turned their backs on him. He did everything he could to make sure every person in this game knew his name. But he wanted to reveal his identity only when he reached the highest level. And now the day has come. He has achieved his goal. But on this day, inexplicable things started happening to the game. It looked like a hacker attack on his account. Realizing this, Cho was in a panic. He could lose everything he'd spent 5 years gathering in an instant. The game's system, having seen the hacker attack, decided to lock his account for security reasons, without the right to restore it, losing everything he had. Chu couldn't take it anymore and hit his computer monitor with all her might, punching it through. Of course he got electrocuted. This sometimes happens when you hit an electronic appliance plugged into an outlet. After that, Cho's heart stopped beating, and his body was covered in black spots. Such a stupid death, when suddenly, his heart started working again. When he woke up, he felt himself falling into the abyss. At that time, Cho didn't know what had happened to him yet. But he felt a lot of pain, which meant he was still alive. When he opened his eyes, he saw strangely dressed people in iron armor in front of him. The whole place reminded him of an Apocraft training camp. When suddenly, one of them shouted, "Get up, weakling! Stop dishonoring your father's name!" Chu couldn't believe his eyes. He had never had such realistic dreams before. He thought it was because of the electric shock. Anyway, Cho decided to follow the events. And only then to figure it all out. Even then, it was clear to him that he wasn't in a dream. He'd been reincarnated into another world. A world he'd spent 5 years on. Apparently to this man, a training instructor, who trains the recruits. Suddenly, a stubby-looking guy stood between them and said, "Master, that's enough. It's time to go home." It's amazing how much this guy's strength transcends his visuals. As suddenly Chow fell into a trance, in which he saw all memories, the former owner of this body. Chow made sure he was in a different world. One that was very similar to the one he'd lived in before. A few decades ago, there was a major cosmic storm here. That changed everything that lived here. Most people turned into bloodthirsty and violent zombies who only wanted to kill. But thanks to this catastrophe, an unusual ability called Star Force was awakened in many people. People with Star Force have an explosive power hundreds of times greater than that of a normal person. Luckily in this world, his father is a level 5 Star Force master, and he's also the head of the city they're in. Father, town leader. Sounds good. Except his son had absolutely no unique abilities whatsoever. Star power is a gift, one that not everyone can receive. But through hard and grueling training, one can approach the level of star power. Sitting in the room, Chow was thinking about what to do next. Suddenly a voice came from behind the door. "Little Chan, I'm back." Apparently that was his father. From now on, the Chow will be Chan. He should be careful before he figures things out. Suddenly his father strokes him on the head and says, "I heard everything. Don't blame your uncle. He's upset too." Interestingly, it was his uncle Yu who brought him into the world. Even though everyone around him thought Chan was a loser, his father believed in him. He suggested he give star power another try. It required incredible fortitude and concentration. It seems that even if he doesn't succeed, Dad would still be there to help him. If Brezhnev Chang couldn't pull it off, doesn't mean the new one can't. A full 2 hours later, Chan felt absolutely no change. Apparently, this body is a priori unable to absorb star power, even though his father was practically a stranger to him. He felt embarrassed in front of him because he was so weak, but his father didn't care about his strength. After all, he loved him without it. The feeling of a father's love was new and unexplored. Chan was very upset to see how much effort his father put into making his son better. As suddenly, Chan saw a game window that was prompting him to enter the game. This world seems to be a combination of present and Apocraft. Logging into the game, Chan saw that he had saved his character in this world. And now he's a level 200 thief. All the skills, items, and abilities he spent 5 years gathering. They're real. But upon opening his stats, Chan saw that all of his skills were only level 1. This means that all the way he will have to go from the beginning. His skills, you can pump up for experience points, which are obtained by completing quests. But right now, All he can do is summon the skill tree. Of the skills available to him, only vulnerability scanning is available. This skill allows you to see your opponent's weaknesses, but has no effect on creatures above level 10. This skill is ideal for raising your level at the beginning of the game, but Chan didn't understand how he could earn experience points if he wasn't in the game. Suddenly, a woman's voice came out and said, "Mr. Chan, dinner is ready." But Chan replied that he wasn't in the mood for dinner. He didn't know then that most people starve, and some even die of hunger. When Chan raised his head, he was delighted, for before him stood a gorgeous Sue. Before, he had only seen such beautiful girls on TV. But he was more interested in her statistics. It seems to be one of his abilities, seeing detailed information from other people. To the others, she was invisible. But Chan didn't know that, so he decided to see if she was real. But seeing the reaction, Chan realized that only he could see the statistics, and his actions seemed immoral. Realizing what it looked like from the outside, Chan got embarrassed and said, "I'm sorry, Sue, it's not what you think." At dinner, Chang learned that Dad's name is Joe. He saw his characteristic, but the level is too high, so he can't recognize them. To summarize, it turns out that Chan is in a small town of survivors, behind the walls of which there are a lot of monsters. His father is the strongest man in town, and right now, he's the weakest member of his family. If he wants to fix that, he needs to fight monsters. But first, he needs to find a defense. While walking through the market, Chang met Shi. He suggested that we go to the training ground together. I must admit, recognizing skills, it's a very useful skill. But before he went there, Chan asked if he could get a gun for himself there. Shi replied that since Chan was the son of the town chief, he could do whatever he wanted. As yet, Chan had yet to realize the full benefits of his status. For the past hour, had never visited the firing range. That's why the other students were surprised to see him there. Yan was considered the best marksman in the whole city. So when Chan said he wanted to practice shooting, the other students started laughing at him. After all, the previous Chan was a loser. He only relied on his father's name. I didn't expect Chan to actually shoot. Much less did he expect to be good at it. Chan quickly realized how other people felt about him, so he started making a fool of himself. After target practice, Chan decided to practice on real zombies. The first thing he had to do was find those zombies. To do so, he went to the edge of town to a wall called armor, because it was too dangerous to go outside the wall with a level as low as his. He decided to shoot them from the roof of the wall. Walking up to the wall, they are greeted by his uncle, who has just returned from a hunting trip. It must be said that his uncle Shu Li, incredibly strong. Although Chang is still far from his brother and father, Chang pretended to be happy to see his uncle and said, "Uncle Shu, we came to help you kill zombies." To Shu, it sounded like a joke. After all, it had never happened before. Chang had always stayed out of such matters. Frankly, they could use an extra set of hands, because the zombies had broken through their first line of defense. When suddenly Chan said, "Uncle, I know you all despise me, but let me show my shooting skills once." Shu was but pleasantly surprised by such a request. Anyway, he's his own uncle, so he's willing to help him in any way he can. Thanks to his skill, Chan could see the zombies' life bar and level, but he didn't know if he would get experience points by killing them. You won't know until you try. Unfortunately, the shot in the arm, the second-level zombie, did him almost no damage. Chan, I'm surprised I didn't kill the monster by ripping off its arm. Well, there's one rule that always works. No one can live without a head, and Chan was well aware of that. By activating his vulnerability skill, Chan saw all of the zombies' vulnerabilities. It's just as Chan thought it would be. After blowing the zombie's head off, he loses all his life points. After killing the first zombie, Chan received a notification of 100 experience points. Check your stats. Jean made sure of that. The scale of his experience began to fill up little by little. Well, the principle of gaining experience is very clear. The more you kill monsters, the more experience you get. The more experience you get, the faster you raise your level. By killing the remaining zombie, Chan was able to raise his level too. The feeling at that moment was unbelievable. Zhu was incredibly happy, even though Chan still needs to practice, but he clearly has potential. Upon opening his stats, Chang was delighted. After all, his stats had doubled. With his level up, Chan was given free skill points, which he can use to increase his stats. So he spent 3 points on agility and 2 on strength. 93 as suddenly, one of the scouts reports finding a star crystal in one of the zombies. Chan went downstairs and got the crystal, but didn't know what to do with it. To find a star crystal in a level 1 zombie is a real miracle. Star crystals are divided into white, blue, green, purple, orange, and red. Each has its own purpose. Take white, for example. There are crystals of low, medium, and high discharge. Star crystals, a currency among warriors. They are far more valuable than ordinary money. A low-grade white crystal is enough to feed a normal person for a week. His first crystal, Chan decided to give it to his uncle's team, so they could buy themselves a pack of cigarettes. So he wanted to break the stereotype about him, so that he would be taken seriously and respected. 2 weeks later, constant training and hunting, Chan was able to pump himself up to level 4. When suddenly, during lunch, his uncle asks him, "Listen, kid, why did you decide to leave your improvement and go hunting with me?" Of course, Chan said he feels better hunting than anywhere else, but he actually goes hunting to level up. Shu advised Chan not to take too long to improve his perfection, because 6th stage warriors become so significant that even bullets can't penetrate them. After hearing this, Chan thought about it. After all, in a world like this, invulnerability to ordinary monsters is a great skill. Meanwhile, a white pickup truck was approaching the city walls, chased by a pack of zombies. As he got closer, Chan noticed that it was the same pickup truck his dad had left on patrol in. Seeing the trouble they were in, Chan immediately helped them. Amazingly, in just 2 weeks, Chan went from an amateur to a professional at such a distance. He killed 2 zombies with a single shot. When the patrol car was safe, his father got out of it and praised Chan for his incredible progress in shooting. But everyone was wondering what had happened. The head said that as soon as they drove away from the fortress, they were attacked by a pack of aggressive zombies. But Chan quickly recognized the lie, for when they left the city, their car was completely unharmed. A pack of ordinary zombies couldn't have done that much damage to it. In addition, the 2nd stage warrior was badly injured all over, with deep scratches covering his entire body. Ordinary zombies definitely couldn't do that. But that's not the important thing right now. The important thing is that everyone's alive. When all of a sudden, the head screamed, "Stop the car! Stop the car now!" Chan had never seen his father so angry and upset at the same time. In a whisper, the head said, "Chi, you know what happens after a zombie attack." Takes out his gun. The head puts it to the forehead of the Chi, who tearfully says, "I understand everything." With completely cold eyes, he said, "Rest in peace, and put a bullet right through this guy's forehead." At that moment, Chang realized that in this world, human life is worthless. At dinner, Chan sat replaying the scene in his mind. How his beloved father had mercilessly killed his man. The housewife noticed this and asked what happened to him, if there was anything she could do to help him. But Chan should get used to such things, or he won't be able to take his father's place in the future. On the one hand, Chan understood that this was a forced measure, but on the other hand, he didn't understand how anyone could do this to their own man. Seeing that Chan was disturbed by the situation, father said, "In order for as many people as possible to survive, sometimes you have to sacrifice someone or something." Deciding that Chan wasn't ready to face the cruelties of the real world, his father forbade him to leave the house, and told the housekeeper to see to it. Of course, his father's prohibition had no effect on Chan at all, and at first light, he ran away from home. But this time he decided to go into the woods, where there are stronger monsters than zombies. Along with himself, he called his only friend who tried to talk him out of the idea. But the usual zombies were bringing too little experience. Therefore, Chan was forced to go into the forest to hunt a more serious monster, for which more experience could be gained. Suddenly Sai said, "I went with you to protect you. Therefore, I cannot let you go any further." When suddenly, there was the sound of a gunshot. Shar thought it was the end of him, but in fact, Chang had saved him. The monster Jin killed was a gray shadow snake, and the venom is incredibly dangerous. One drop can kill 10 people at once. After this situation, C began to suspect something, because only with the skills of a warrior can you detect such a stealthy monster. Unfortunately, there were no crystals in this snake. But Chan was going to go deep into the forest to get as much experience and crystals as he could, especially since with his skill at spotting the enemy, it'll be a cakewalk. Chan and C spent the whole day in the forest surrounded by monsters. But Chan managed to get 1 crystal and earn a lot of experience. Suddenly, one of the soldiers says, "Mr. Chan, you are long today." Chan didn't like to be addressed as Mr. Chan, so he asked his brother to address him as Mr. Chan. That crystal Chan got in the woods, he gave it to this guy. He told him to use it to cure his sister. Well, the snake meat he got is needed for another purpose. Suddenly C asks, "Chan, why are you giving this meat so easily, since you could have made a lot of money?" But Chan didn't say anything. The point is that he used to take the meat to an orphanage for orphans. Every time he came to the orphanage, the children were so happy to see him. He was the only one who cared about them. Every time C saw how happy the kids were to see Chan, I felt sad because he was helping them too. In general, the meat of these snakes is quite poisonous, but with proper processing, all the venom can be removed. The principal of the orphanage was insanely grateful to the vat. After all, she knows how hard and dangerous it is to believe they're snakes. When suddenly, from behind, her husband comes waving a dead snake and says, "What are you talking about? Our young master is a natural sniper. He hits you in the head the first time." After the orphanage, Chan came home for dinner, thinking his father doesn't know he's running away from home, when all of a sudden my dad says, "You think you're the smartest? I forbade you to leave the house, but in the last half a month you've only made things worse. And you've been spreading a lot of rumors that you're a skilled marksman. Is that true?" Realizing there's no turning back than to say, "Well, when I lock the doors in front of you, there's always a window. And yes, I've had some success with shooting." His father listened to him and said, "Good for you. I remind you not to get too close to the lower class," clearly alluding to the orphanage. And indeed, rumors of a young gunslinger quickly spread throughout the city. In the past, the reputation of the best shooter was held by Commander Yan, but now people are starting to argue about it. Commander Yan was annoyed by all these rumors. He didn't understand how a gunner like him could be compared to a loser like Chan. And by sheer coincidence, a couple minutes later, they meet Chan and C. And then Commander Yan says, "Oh, Mr. Chan, what a coincidence. I was just on my way to see you." But Chan just walked right past him like he didn't notice him. It was all to piss off Commander Yan. Chang knew exactly what he wanted from him. Of course, Yang wanted to prove he was the best shot in town. So he challenged Chan to a duel. Hearing this, Than said, "Wu Commander, these rumors are not true. It's because of my father." In fact, Chan was actually wondering who was the better shot. But this time, he decided to pass. "But then, Commander, I'm offering a wager on a piece of green crystal. In exchange for it, you can get the best weapon in this town." So the offer couldn't help but interest Chan. So he asked what the point of the argument was. "Commander Yan suggested we compete in shooting at moving targets," started Chan. "It's too easy." And Chan suggested we go hunting outside the city, and whoever brings the most valuable booty wins. Captain Yan clearly did not expect to hear such a suggestion from the former weakling. The start of their competition would begin in exactly 1 week's time. Resting after another hunt, Sai warned his friend that Captain Yan is not as kind as it may seem at first glance. Chong understood all this, for he had met such men before. But Si didn't understand why he had agreed to this duel. The whole point is that Chang wants to show Captain Yan that this world is changeable and the one who yesterday was strong, today is no one. In all the time Chan had spent hunting, he had learned quite a bit about close combat weapons, which gives him a big advantage over Commander Yang. After all, outside the city, there are many monsters who are no more afraid of bullets than rain. And if Chan can get the body of a high-level monster, he'll show everyone what he's capable of. And a shard of green crystal, especially since he's already pretty good with swords and daggers. Before the start of their duel, there was only 1 day left, so Chan decided to take a walk through the city. Every passerby wished him good morning and victory in tomorrow's contest. It is hard not to notice how people's attitude towards VAT has changed for the better in recent months. This could not be more gratifying. Meanwhile, Father Chan has been advised to cancel tomorrow's competition, to avoid accidents. But the head had full confidence in his son. But before tomorrow, Chan decided to stop by the gun store. He wanted to acquire a powerful bow, capable of sending an arrow at the speed of a bullet. The blacksmith remembered that he had one of these bows in his drawer, one that required at least 300 units of strength to use. Since no one has been interested in this bow for a long time, the blacksmith decided to donate it to the vat. When suddenly Sai says, "Sir, if you want a weapon with a bowstring, wouldn't it be better to get a crossbow? But if you train your arm strength and marksmanship, there's nothing better suited than a bow. This silent and sophisticated weapon in the hands of a professional is true death." Xie didn't understand how Chan had the strength to pull such a bowstring. After all, he wasn't even a warrior. The first arrow Chan fired from that bow almost killed that poor old lady. Except that's exactly where Chan was aiming. It's a wonder he's never shot a bow before. Chan's first shot hits the bullseye. Chan knew what he had done was wrong, so he decided to apologize to the old woman for what he had done. Grandson of this grandmother grabbed an arrow and started running around in a circle with it and singing, "Grandma has arrows growing out of her head!" Seeing a little boy playing with a sharp arrow, the blacksmith took it away. Well, when he took a closer look at the arrow, he saw that there was a small fly at the very end of it. Thereafter, Chan continued his archery training on flies. And you have to admit, it's incredible, because of Chan's use of the bow. All the experience he earned was doubled. This allowed the genie to quickly reach level 15. Now, his entire skill map was filled out. We are already familiar with the first ability. The second skill was marksmanship, which brought the target closer in the scope. The third skill was double attack, and the fourth was backstab, allowing you to do twice as much damage. In Applecraft, all of these skills are incredibly valuable. Chan doubted their effectiveness in the real world, so before using all these skills in tomorrow's duel, you should test them on a more dangerous monster than a fly. Chan and Shi went to the bamboo forest to do so. In this forest, there are monsters from the 2nd to the 5th level. One of the greatest dangers in this forest are the wild mutant boars. They are ferocious and fast. Sure, their attacks are pretty predictable, but they often work in packs. But thanks to his detection skills, Chang will spot it in time. Sai, trying to fulfill his duty to the head, told Chan to get out of here as fast as possible. But he didn't come here to run away. He needs to test his skills before tomorrow. The first thing to do is to check the double strike skill. In the game, this skill allowed you to strike the first blow with maximum force, but by combining the double kick and back kick, Chan's damage is multiplied, thus leaving the boar no chance. Just like that, combining two simple skills, Chang had a deadly combination that could take down any monster. He couldn't believe his eyes. He had suspected before that Chan was not as simple as he looked, but now he was convinced. Chan says, "Look, I killed the monster and you're carrying the body." Brought the loot home. The housekeeper made a terrific dinner out of it. There was complete silence in the kitchen when Father said, "First, there were gray shadow snakes, and now there's a monster cabana. I don't know whether to praise you or punish you. In case you want to compliment me, lend me some crystals or gold," Chan replied, the money he asked his father for. Chan wants to bet his winnings. For the week that Captain Yan gave the vat to prepare, he practiced like a madman himself, day and night. He wasn't just going to win the argument, he was going to destroy Chan as a person, especially since he's a warrior of the 3rd rank. That's saying a lot. Finally, the day has come. Today's contest will decide who is stronger than Mr. Chan or Commander Yan. Both contestants were confident of their victory. As before, the town split into 2 camps, half rooting for Captain Yan and the other for Mr. Chang. Before the start of the competition, a boy from the orphanage ran up to the vat and wished him luck, a white crystal, and told him to bet on him to win. Seeing this, Captain Yan indignantly said, "What are you doing? Why make a child get involved in this?" Chan didn't see anything wrong with it. He said it was just a chance for poor boy to make some money. Well, all preparations are complete, the contestants are in place, and so we can begin. Before we begin, the host announces the conditions. The level of weapon use is not important. Only the value of the loot will determine the winner. Has sounded fast, which means the competition has begun. This host was from the same academy as Commander Yan, so he thought that a dispute between a novice and a 3rd-ranked fighter would be a valuable lesson for Chan if he could survive. After the start of the competition, the right hand of the head suggested sending reinforcements to Mr. Chan just in case. But his father was adamantly opposed. He said he'd look after his son himself as a last resort, especially since he would have to rely on himself in the future. Meanwhile, the 5th-ranked assassin has a mission. This time, his target was Mr. Chan, for which if the mission is successful, he will receive a green crystal. And this assassin's name was Tan Lai. Long ago he was an honorable warrior of the elite guard. But that's another story. Actually, the green crystal reward for killing a student is incredibly rare. I wonder who would want to kill Chan. Meanwhile, Chang began to explore the area using the map the Su family had given him. The good thing about this map is that it's incredibly detailed. On it, it even marked the areas where you could find a particular monster. The first thing Chang decided to do was to catch a 3rd-ranked shadow wolf. If you do it right and be careful, Chan will easily win this bet, thanks to his skill at spotting the enemy. Chan thoroughly knew the location and number of monsters. Nearby, Chang discovered a small pack of 3 shadow wolves. He thought he could handle them. It wasn't easy, but the vat still managed to defeat the pack of wolves. The more so when 2 more came running to the aid of the others, and only 5 3rd-rank shadow wolves. At the moment, this was the limit of Chan's ability. By killing 100 wolves, Chan had managed to raise his level to 16th. His abilities should now be slightly worse than a 3rd-ranked warrior's, when suddenly he felt a sharp pain in his chest. It must have been worse than he thought. Fortunately, Chan had managed to get a small healing potion earlier. He hesitated whether to drink it or not, but he decides to do it. After all, with such an injury, he wouldn't be able to participate in the argument any further. The smell of the potion was disgusting, and Chan decides to try pouring this potion on the wound, but all to no avail. As much as he wants to, he has no other choice. He has to drink the whole potion. This potion tasted much better than it smelled. Unbelievable. Chan didn't have time to drink the whole potion, and it's already gone bad early on. Looks like this potion is a very useful thing. Meanwhile, at the edge of the woods sat what's known as the Barrier Squad. Their purpose is to keep order, and to make sure that no one dared to interfere in the dispute. Meanwhile, the assassin Tai met them. He was surprised to see people walking around. A roadblock stopped him and asked him what he was doing here. But Tai said he was just lost looking for the guy in the picture. When suddenly, one of the idiots says, "Oh, that's Mr. Chan. He's in the woods right now. What do you want?" When he heard that, he silently ran at them. The three of them would never be able to deal with a 5th-rank warrior. His attack speed is unbelievable. It's impossible to keep track of him. One by one, Tai killed every member of this group, and when asked why, Tai answered, "Don't take it personally. I just don't like to leave any witnesses behind." Meanwhile, with a little rest and strength, Chan decided to hunt the leader of the pack. Chan was delighted to find such a serious monster, but he was well aware that his equipment was broken. There was no way he could handle it. It's halfway through the competition. But if Chan doesn't find a more serious monster in the remaining time, everyone in town will consider him a total failure. When suddenly Chan felt a man approaching, and this time a streak of life appeared above his head. Chan, he knew right away that this man had come to kill him. Let's not forget that Tai's a 5-star warrior, and his stealth skills are perfect. But still, Gina's skill was able to spot him. Coming to the place where Tai seemed to have seen Chan found nothing, and so he was very surprised, because he was sure he had seen him here. Thanks to Chan's timely sighting of him, he was able to escape and buy some time. Chan is obviously no match for Tai, but he wondered who wished for his death. And Chan has decided. He who attacks first wins. So even though he was outnumbered, he decided to do it because sooner or later he would find him. It was presumptuous to expect a professional like Tai to fall for it, but it was worth a shot. If it didn't work the first time, it would work the next, Chan thought, and started attacking. Despite his status as a student, his attacks were incredibly fast and powerful. Tai clearly didn't expect to meet such resistance from the schoolboy, because Chan was as good as Taiji in close combat. But after the battle with the wolves, he wouldn't be able to fight at this pace for long. So Chong decided to use his only trump card, Double Strike. It was a real surprise to Tai. After all, he had never encountered such a thing before. Although he had fought more than 100 battles, Tai didn't understand how an ordinary schoolboy could break through his defenses. Even 4th-ranked warriors couldn't break through his defenses. Of course, the Double Strike had taken its toll. But after Chan's strongest attack, Tai had lost less than 10% of his health. When suddenly Tai's stats window popped up and everything became clear. All his stats were hidden. I had seen this once before with my father. Da was beginning to wonder if he'd met the guy he'd been ordered to meet. After all, he was promised a pathetic weakling. Chang asked him, "Tell me honestly, did Yan Baisun send you?" Tai. This question made him laugh a lot. Pulling out his sword, he said, "You are much stronger than I thought. But a man who is about to die doesn't need to know so much." That's power. Now I see why he's a rank 5 warrior. With one swing of his sword, he cut down a 1,000-year-old tree. A little more and the vat would have been finished. It was becoming clearer by the second that Chan could not win this fight. The only way to survive now is to try to hide from him. Well, Tai wouldn't let him go that easily. So Chan decided to use his vulnerability scanning skills. As expected, his weak points are his head, heart, and limbs. But it will be quite difficult to hit them. It was a nice try, but Tai's skills were enough to dodge the bullet. With this shot, Chan has revealed his location. Now he's an easy target. Chang managed to escape, due to the cloud of dust that rose up after the Tai attack, as the mercenary suddenly said, "Apparently, you don't even realize how high the physical fitness level of a rank 5 martial artist is." Chan realized he couldn't hide forever, so he came up with an ingenious plan. If Chan can't handle it alone, then he needs help to do it. But in order to do that, Chan has to trap him. Because of his greed, Dai jumped off the cliff right behind Chan without a second thought. A pack of shadow wolves was waiting for them at the bottom. But for a master like Tai, that would be too easy. That's why Chan must call on the leader of the pack. And the easiest way to do that is to kill a few wolves. Their death howls will quickly be answered by the leader, surrounded by shadow wolves, and said, "Boy, Are you out of your mind? We're both gonna die here. But that's exactly what Chan was counting on. From now on, Tai would defend himself, not try to kill him. Of course, it's not a perfect plan, but it's better than certain death. It didn't take long for the ringleader to show up. Chan was well aware of the risks of his plan. But for Tai, the leader's appearance was unexpected. At the sight of the leader, the other wolves quieted down and stopped attacking them. None of the wolves would dare to oppose their master. Now that the intensity of the battle had subsided a bit, Chan began to ponder how to break through the monsters. When all of a sudden, Tai says, "You're brave and you're stupid. You cut off your own escape route. I, on the other hand, will have no trouble getting out of here." But Chan, he saw this coming. So he took out 2 grenades and said, "Really? Maybe I should make it harder for you." 293 they were flashbang grenades. That's why they didn't kill anyone. But Jang took this opportunity to escape. It was only because of his intelligence that Jang was able to survive today. And now Tai was left to fend for himself with the leader and a whole pack of shadow wolves. Well, Chan decided to watch the battle. Afterwards, he could take all the spoils for himself. Whoever wins, Chan will be the winner. Their battle lasted over 3 hours. It was amazing how one man alone could defeat a whole pack and its leader. As a result of this battle, neither side survived. But it's even better for Chan. The wolf's body can be brought as prey, and Tai's death itself is already a gift. But what to do with his body is unclear. But Chan decided to check his pockets, because the mercenaries must have money. And Chan was right. In one of his pockets he found a pouch with various crystals. Check the other pocket. Chan found something. Something incomprehensible. Looks like a flashlight. When suddenly, the leader whimpered. Chan was surprised that he had managed to survive the fight with the Tai. And then, Chan decided to put the wolf out of its misery, and end it quickly. And meanwhile, the time for their duel had come to an end. Well, not one of the contestants has returned yet. The people in town began to worry that something had happened to them. And during the time that Commander Yan and Chang were out of town, people believed that Commander Yan would win this dispute with 90% probability. Only Chan's family believed in him to the last. And finally, the first contestant is back in town. And it's Captain Yang. Captain Yan covered his loot with a white cloth, to keep the intrigue alive until Chan arrived. A couple minutes later, a white truck drove through the city gates, black smoke billowing from its tailpipe. Now I can see why Chan had been gone so long. Finally, the moment has come. It's time to find out who is the best. Third-ranked warrior Captain Yan, or the son of the city leader, Mr. Chang. They both were 1,000% sure of their victory. But in such an argument, there can only be one winner. When suddenly, before the weigh-in, Captain Yan said, "Gentlemen, I have a suggestion. Let's not count the catch of both participants at once, but do it one by one." Captain Yan's suggestion made Chan's father very uncomfortable. After all, he thought the captain wanted to humiliate his son in public. Anyway, Chan accepted those terms. And it's going to get even more interesting. Captain Yan decided that his prey should be the first to be evaluated. After all, that way he could tell from Chan's reaction whether he had won or not. Well, I wonder what kind of booty Captain Yan brought back with him. After removing the veil, the people saw that Captain Yan was able to defeat a second-level sword boar single-handedly. Admittedly, you'd expect more from a man like that, but the men were impressed. But they hadn't seen Chan's prey yet. The smug Captain Yan said, "I think we should check if there are crystals inside this beast, and then already calculate the final cost. After all, it is a monster of almost 3rd level. The captain's booty didn't surprise Chan at all. After all, he already knew he had won. Suddenly he said, "I don't care. Count your crystals quickly. I still have to go home and take a bath." After examining the boar's body, they found a white crystal in it. Together with it, the total value of the boar is a top-grade white crystal. The captain, fully confident of his victory, says, "How about it? Might share half the crystal with you." Chan politely said that it was very nice of him, but that he would refuse such a different offer altogether. When suddenly Captain Yan shouted loudly, "Gentlemen, please don't worry, the boar is just the beginning. Now I'll show you the real catch." In the back of the captain's pickup truck, under the boar, lay a level 3 forest spider. Even warriors of the 4th rank don't dare to approach a forest spider. Unfortunately, this spider thing turned out to have crystals inside of it. But the forest spider itself is worth as much as 3 premium white crystals. Captain Yan's support team was bursting with excitement. They thought that Chan obviously couldn't get a monster more valuable than this one. Celebrating, Captain Yan turned to the vat and said, "Now do you see? There's a huge gulf between us. Scum is no match for genius. Chan exhaled and reluctantly answered him. So you think you're scum? Captain Yan couldn't believe his ears. He couldn't even imagine that Chan would be able to defeat a monster above the second level. Well, it's time to see the booty of the heir to the throne, Mr. Chan, by throwing the covers off his pickup truck. Chan said, time was short, so I didn't catch anything of value. When all the people saw Chan's loot, they were shocked. Even his father didn't expect to see such a thing. Chan, he brought a white shadow wolf with him. More specifically, a level 4 shadow wolf king. Not everyone knew his real value, but Captain Yan did. After examining the body, the host discovered a lower rank blue crystal inside this monster. And thus, a solid and confident victory was won by Chan. 1 blue crystal equals 100 white crystals. People chanted Chang's name incessantly. Captain Yan, upon seeing his opponent's loot, accused him of cheating. He couldn't think that a person like Chan could defeat a level 4 monster. But then Chan said, I have you to thank for killing that wolf. In order to deal with a scum like me, you, Commander Yan, called a 5th-ranked warrior. Isn't that right? Chan added. But Yang really had nothing to do with it. That's why he was surprised to hear it. At first, he thought it was Chan's way of justifying his cheating. Hearing this, Yan Sr. shut his son's mouth and apologized to Mr. Chan, promising that he would punish his son for such behavior. It was at that moment that Chan began to suspect the captain's father of attempting his own murder. But Chan's father intervenes in their conversation. Director Yan, it's just a dispute between 2 boys. Don't take the situation so seriously. That same evening, the customer came to find out why Mr. Chan is still alive. And what happened to the Shadow Wolf King? What a surprise. It was Captain Yang's father was the one who ordered Chan's murder. But why would he do that? To a gala dinner, Chiang invited his friend Shi, and they celebrated his victory over Captain Yan as a family. After taking his first sip of beer, Chan grimaced and screamed, "Oh my God, that's bitter." My father laughed and said, "It's always like this when you first drink alcohol." Chan's tastes must have been left over from a previous life. After all, even then he didn't like alcohol because of its terrible taste. Suddenly, the father decided to make a toast. He congratulated his son on the first important victory of his life. Chana, that really touched him. It's the first time in his life that he's ever been congratulated on anything. So Chan decided to ask his father what he knew about the Yan family, even though Chiang didn't know who was behind the assassin. But he was almost 100% sure that it was Captain Yan's father. But it was too early to blame the man. Seeing Chan's sad face, father said, "Don't take it personally. Captain Yan is talented, but he has a bad temper. I've sent him to your uncle for his first education." 356 after supper came to his room and tried to make out what object he had taken out, because of the red light on the end of this device. Chan thought it was a bomb at first, when suddenly this device hit the floor. But it didn't explode, so I doubt it was a bomb. But if it's not a bomb, what is it? And then Chang realized it was a human communication device, when the housekeeper enters the room carrying a huge bag. It's the award for the competition. All red and breathing hard, she asked, "My lord, I must help you. Where shall I put him?" Chan was shocked to see the small and frail girl drag that iron sack into the room. Taking the bag from her, Chan said, "This bag is incredibly heavy. Why are you pulling it?" The girl replied that she was just a housekeeper and that was her job. But to Chan, she was an ordinary girl. He asked her not to limit herself to her position as a worker from now on. There was a spark of love between them. But she was interrupted by her father, who had just entered the room. Seeing her boss, the housekeeper became very embarrassed and ran out of the room so as not to disturb them. When suddenly father said, "Son, today you have won the competition and proved to the people that you are an excellent warrior. So it's time to learn how to handle the administrative affairs of our city." Chan, with all his heart, didn't want to do all that paperwork, and he wasn't attracted to the position of city manager at all, as he suddenly said, "Okay, I'll become the head of the city, but you'll have to help me improve my equipment with these crystals." Father decided to help his son with his request. So the next day, Chan went hunting to check out his new equipment. Thanks to improved equipment, Chan was finally able to raise his level to the 20th level, and he was helped by a bow, which doubles the experience earned. Having reached level 20, Chan had finally unlocked the last 5th skill. This skill is the attack jump. This skill allows you to jump directly on the target with the launch of a triple attack. Each blow deals an additional 200 points of damage. When suddenly, Chan spots a huge zombie at least 100 meters tall. It's the perfect opponent to test his new skill. Meanwhile, across the ruined city, something strange was happening. The zombies started going crazy. Their strength and anger grew by leaps and bounds, and the culprit was this device that Chan found on the assassin. What is it? Apparently this device somehow affects the mental health of monsters. But it's more fun this way. The first thing Chan did was to scan the monster's vulnerabilities. With a precise shot, Chong hits the monster in the temple. Surprisingly, it's not enough to kill it. Because of this, the zombies are even angrier. This device also seems to increase the life reserves of all monsters that are affected by it. Chan, I didn't expect that either. But he discounted the fact that this monster is an elite-level monster. I'm the one that Chan gave away his location, so now he has to hide from this monster. In an attempt to get Chan, the zombies demolished everything in their path, not even sparing other zombies. And then Chan decided that if he'd pissed off the monster, he had to calm it down. And for that, he had an attack jump. Due to his enormous size, Zombie was unable to dodge the attack in time. But that's not all. Chan combined an attacking jump with a back kick to deal incredible damage to the monster. But even that wasn't enough to kill him. But with a series of successful attacks, Chan finally takes the monster's life. From the body of this zombie, Chan managed to retrieve a blue crystal. This is surprising, because zombies of any level rarely have crystals higher than white. Returning home, he is stopped at a checkpoint on the way into town. Chan was surprised at this, because this checkpoint had not been there since the morning when he had gone hunting. So he asked the guard why they had put them here. It's all about the fact that there was a rumor that zombies in the nearest suburbs became active and began to behave too aggressively. Now it was clear why there were so many of them today. But now there was another question. What made them behave like this? Upon arriving home, Chan saw that a gathering of the most powerful people in the city was taking place in their living room. His father invited Chan to the meeting to gain experience running the town. The purpose of their meeting was to solve the problem of a zombie army advancing on their town. According to Mr. He's calculations, this army will be at the city walls by noon tomorrow. You suggested not to wait for them near the city, but to attack first, to keep the people safe from the monsters. Yan Sr. supported Shu's initiative. After all, as the head of the supply department, he doesn't want the city to go hungry in the second half of the year. But the mayor was worried about how people would react to the news. After all, they would have to declare an urgent mobilization. But nevertheless, he was determined that tomorrow at dawn, the commander-in-chief would gather an army and march outside the city to stop the zombie army. During his absence, the chief put Chan in charge of the town, which of course, he was honored by his father's act. But he felt that his place was on the battlefield with the rest of them. On his decision, my father wasn't going to change it. He said it would be a great experience for the future leader. Suddenly Chan said, "Dad, I want to be there for you, to help you in your time of need." Father, this greatly touched him. He leaned over to him and said, "Don't forget that I am a 5th-rank warrior. But thank you for your concern." When Chan left, he took promises from his father that he would return safely. Left to himself, the head took the picture of his dead wife and said, "Beloved, our boy is all grown up now, thank you." A couple days later, Chan's father's squad was returning from another mission, but things didn't go as smoothly as they thought. Chan reported that his father had an unpleasant situation but is alive. Upon hearing this, Chan and Si went out of town that very second to help their father. All the way, Chan had a strange feeling he couldn't describe. But what confused him most was that there wasn't a single sign of zombies in the area, which meant something was wrong. When suddenly, a red streak of life appeared above one of the squad members. That means Chan and Sai are trapped. But Chan, he took his time. He waited for them to arrive. Who would have thought Captain Yan's squad was already waiting for them? Interesting. Looks like a coup d'etat. The Yan family is behind it. And here comes Captain Yan himself. Or should I say, a trash rat who thinks he's the king of the world. It's finally dawned on Si that they've been betrayed. And they want to kill them. Feeling full power, the captain punched the poor man in the stomach with all his might, shouting, "Dog! Who gave you permission to open your mouth?" Seeing the captain, Chan asked, "Idiot, the zombie crowd is your handiwork?" The captain, he felt invulnerable, because right now his father was running the city, and if God forbid anything should happen to the town leader, he would take his place. When suddenly Captain Yan said, "Chan, hasn't your father been head of the city too long? Me and my boys think it's time to replace him." The weakest, a member of Captain Yan's team, is a 2nd-ranked warrior. Therefore, Si decided to sacrifice his life, just so that Mr. Chan could be saved. But there was absolutely no need for that. Chan would kill anyone for the one person who loved him. Despite his official rookie status, his skills are well above rank 3. so these idiots don't even have time to react to his lightning-fast attacks. This is the first time Chan is completely cold-blooded and as brutal as possible. To them, he's like an elusive bolt of lightning. Who wants them dead? One by one, Chan cut out those idiots like weeds. Not one of them is worthy of mercy. Watching his crew members die one by one, Captain Yan was horrified, because he thought Chan was just a commoner who won their argument because of Dad's connections. But Chan was unstoppable. The rest of the group tried to shoot him to no avail. It's time to take responsibility for your actions, and this time there will be no mercy. Yan couldn't believe that Chang had defeated his entire team and himself. After all, he's a third-ranked warrior. When suddenly, Yang said, "You can't kill me. The whole city is now under my father's control. If you kill me, I'll kill your father too." Chan was filled with rage, and then he shouted, "If you don't tell me where my father is, I'll kill you!" Fearing for his life, Captain Ya didn't tell me that his father was now in the eastern part of the city. After getting the information he needed, Chang decided to let Yang go. But he proved once again that he wasn't worthy of life. Chan had no choice but to kill the insolent man. A jumping attack was the perfect way to do it. That's it. Chan has only become convinced once again that traitors are not worthy of forgiveness. His skill level has increased by leaps and bounds. If he could kill a rank 3 warrior so easily. Now Chan has one goal, to kill all the traitors and save his father. Meanwhile, the leader and his squad, they were fighting off another wave of zombies. Suddenly, his right hand Xiao attacked from the back. At first, the head didn't even realize anything, but only felt a strong burning sensation in his back. He thought it was a Bali zombie. But when he bounced to the side, he saw that it was his assistant who had struck the blow. Yan, the elder, equipped him with a unique invisible sword. Its specialty is that it delivers a blow that can be felt over time. Unfortunately, Xiao wasn't the only one there was, also Mr. He along with his men. Horrified, the head said, "So it was you two who plotted this treachery." When suddenly, Yang Sr. came out from behind the bushes. The main traitor has finally appeared, the brain of this operation. His whole life, he's been striving for power. In his mind, anyone who doesn't have power is a loser. That's why he started this whole thing. Of course, all their attacks are nothing to the head. It was as if they had forgotten that he was a warrior of that rank, though their combined attack made the head tense, but nothing life-threatening. But this plan, Yan Sr. had been working on for years. Therefore, he had calculated everything at home, just the details. After countless attacks, they still managed to wound him. But not mortally. Before, those 3 were the only people besides Chan that the head could trust. But even they overcame him. It just proved once again that there is no such word as trust in this world. But the leader decided to show them what happens to those who betray it. This battle will go down in history as the famous Judas execution. Before you put a man like him off the food supply, you have to weigh the pros and cons. They're not weak, of course. They can even block his blows, but they don't stand a chance against him. Meanwhile, Chan and Si were rushing to their father's aid. On the way, Chang thought carefully about his plan of action. A kilometer before the chapter's camp, there was a roadblock where they were met by patrolmen. When all of a sudden, one of the patrolmen got a red stripe of life above him, which means he's in league with the traitors. When suddenly the patrolman said, "Shall I take you to the chief?" But Chan answered him, "You fool, it is I who will take you." "Only to hell," Chang added, and slit his throat with incredible speed. Meanwhile, the leader had killed all the traitors' aides. He even managed to cut off Yan Sr.'s arm. But he was now trapped. Well, the head has made up his mind that if he dies today, he's taking them with him. It's funny to watch the confidence in the eyes of traitors fade. If they weren't confident before, they're not now. Well, as it was, instead of continuing to attack him one by one, and one of the kunai managed to wound the head's wrist. Because of the severe wound, he dropped his sword, and for the traitors, it's the perfect chance to kill him. And Mr. Yan was still able to plunge his dagger into the head's body. But for such occasions, the head had a trump up his sleeve in the form of a hidden dagger. It seems he was telling the truth when he promised to take all traitors to the grave with him. Except, I wonder what's to stop the traitors from killing each other after they kill the head. But Mr. Yan has secured himself in this case. After all, if he died, his subordinates would burn down the entire city. Unfortunately, the head gave his last strength defending himself from the constant attacks of the traitors. So he won't be able to come back from this blow. Especially since there's no need for that. Chan is already there. Well, let's see who comes out the winner. Naturally, the 3 of them didn't expect anyone to come to the head's aid. After all, they did everything they could to avoid it. When suddenly Chan said, You've lost your fear. Whose time is up? Upon seeing him, Shu was covered in cold sweat and said, You lowlife, how could you repel the attack of my sword? Waking up, opening his eyes, the headman laughed and said, My son is nothing? Oh no. You are the only one who is nothing. In this battle, Chang's main goal was to capture Mr. Yan, and his father would deal with the other two. Before the fight, Chang gave his father a flask of healing potion and told him to drink it. Now that's interesting. The leader is full of strength and health. He and his son are fighting against the traitors. Suddenly Chan says, Hey, fatty, how long have you been talking to your son? How does he feel without his head? By telling of his son's death, Chang has morally destroyed Mr. Yang. Now he won't be able to fight normally and will act predictably. As expected, he attacked from afar. All of his attacks are too simple and predictable, even though his father told him to let him live. But Chan decided to kill him with a double attack. In just one attack, Chan took away most of his health. Realizing that he couldn't win this battle, Mr. Yan called out to He for help. Fighting skills are not Mr. He's strong suit, but he's an excellent strategist, but strategy won't help him now. Even a zero-ranked apprentice could handle a man like him. And for a warrior like Chang, he was no more of a threat than a mosquito. When the dust cloud from the previous attack dissipated, he was surprised when he didn't see Chan, when suddenly from the sky came the cry, Love me. Now it's clear Chang used an attack jump, and so it will be with every traitor. Meanwhile, strange things were happening in the city. The guards were driving all the farmers to safety. They really thought the zombie army was coming, and the man in charge of this operation is Chan's uncle Shu. Now, outside the city walls, his help would be much more useful than here. The whole time his brother was out of town, a terrible sense of danger never left him. But his sense of duty won out. He stayed in town. The housekeeper also sensed that something terrible was going on, especially since their last conversation with the master. It was like a farewell note, in which he confessed that she was like a daughter to him, before he went on the mission. The chief said that if anything happened to him, he'd leave his son in charge of the town. Meanwhile, the execution of the Jews was in full swing. Even though the leader was almost exhausted, he still fought with dignity. All he had to do was catch Sui in a mistake he finally made. Finally, the moment has come. Shu would feel the full chill of the chapter's blade. Only humans can be worse than zombies and mutated animals. And that's a lesson the chapter will always remember. That's it. The one who posed the greatest threat has been defeated. Shu and he are dead. It's time to deal with the leader of this gang of idiots. But Dad stopped Chan, when suddenly Mr. Yan said, Fool, you can't kill me. If I die, all the other people in the city will be buried with me. Going to him, the headman said, I've heard rumors of traitors, but I didn't think you were involved. What's the use of you talking? I haven't done much for the city, but I've worked my ass off. So why does your son think I'm nothing? Mr. Yang added. Mr. Yan threatened to blow up the city if Chan didn't tell him where his son was, when suddenly Chan said, Your son, in the safest place possible. But if you press the detonator, I'll make you both beg for death. And then I didn't hear a familiar voice saying, Mr. Yan, such indecision is not characteristic of you. It was this stranger who told him that his son had been dead a long time. When I heard that, it didn't take me long to pull the trigger and leave the city nothing but ruins. But Chan's reaction time is faster than his. So Chan managed to knock the detonator out of his hands. And since Yan can't destroy the city now, there's no point in keeping him alive. But the vat had to back off, because this stranger is entering the fray. His name is Lu, and he's a warrior of the 6th rank, a whole rank higher than Father Chan. This fact alone makes it clear that it is best not to fight him. Suddenly Lu said, Today I'm going to inconvenience you, and get your reward. Onion, save Yang. It's not out of the goodness of my heart. It's because I'm his employer, and if he dies, the Onion won't get his money. Yan ordered Lu to kill them, but he just laughed and said, Are you stupid? Your son is already dead. Everything you owned has been destroyed, and now I'm the only one who can save you. I think all your possessions would be worth paying for, added the Lu. And this guy knows how to get his way. To fight a warrior like that, even with just the two of us, would be suicidal. So his father decided to delay him to buy some time for Chan and Shi. But Chan didn't come all this way to leave his father in this situation. So he decided to stay with him. But see, he wanted to live a little longer, so he decided to run away. Well, there's the Lu. I was of a completely different opinion. He caught up in a split second, and he said, Did I say you could run away? Fortunately, Chang was able to react in time to block his attack. He didn't understand how a rank 6 warrior could think he was all-powerful. He may not be humanly strong, but he's clearly not omnipotent, which means he could be killed. And Chan decided to try it. And what can I say, Chan even took the first steps toward his goal. He managed to wound Lu's shoulder, which was surprising, because among his skills is anticipating the enemy. But he couldn't anticipate Chan, but his father did. Fortunately, the head is also a very strong opponent and won't let himself be killed for nothing. Unexpectedly, C came back to them, but not empty-handed. He brought Chan's car. It was actually Chan's plan all along. If they weren't full of energy, then maybe they'd have a chance at victory. But now, after a long and grueling battle, their chances of success are nil. This, the evacuation plan Chang came up with as soon as he found out they'd been betrayed. This time, they managed to escape. But in order to give him a decent fight, Chan must raise his level. Watching from the sidelines, Mr. Yan thought that he's a worthless hired assassin. If he couldn't handle a bunch of scum, oh shit. They completely forgot about the detonator. Now the fate of thousands of people is in the hands of this madman. But when Lu saw what Yan was about to do, he stabbed his sword through his hand, calling him an ungrateful idiot. To be honest, he's not averse to sending him to his son. But there's one thing, he's his client. When suddenly Yan started laughing hysterically non-stop. Is this what fear does to him? This can't be happening. I pressed the detonator. After that, Lu, there was no point in letting him live. After all, everything Yan owned was now destroyed. Meanwhile, there were several massive explosions in the city, and all the grain stores were destroyed. The people were terrified, not so much by the explosions as by the fact that they were now without food. When Shu heard the explosions in the city, he knew it all at once. He realized that Mr. Yan was the traitor he had warned his older brother about. But trouble doesn't come alone. A huge army of zombies was approaching the city. Those wars that survived fought back against the monsters. But the zombies kept getting bigger and bigger. Meanwhile, inside the city, a full evacuation had begun, and Zhu gave orders to stand to the last man, even at the cost of his life. But it's impossible to contain that many zombies with what they have. If they can hold on for even a minute longer, it'll be a miracle. No, that's the real miracle. Chan and the others had already arrived in the city, and already with this lineup, they have a good chance to win.